Very pleased to be joined by TSN Director of Scouting Craig Button here at Grey Eagle. We're going to bring Perry Shockey on the set here before the hour is up. I don't know where to start other than where I left off before the break, Craig, and that was the Jets fans want to know what's wrong with their team. They lost 5-3 at home last night to the Florida Panthers. They're out out of a playoff spot right now. What do you see ahead for the Winnipeg Jets?
You know, I'm confounded to a certain extent, Rod. You know, I like their team. I like the composition of their team. I think they have some really good elements in their group. And I was just in Winnipeg for 3 of their games. You watch them play a good game against Pittsburgh, and then a bad break on the Kapanen goal. It's 2-1. Then 9 seconds later, it's 2-2. They lose in the shootout. They play a good game in Washington. They carry a lot of play. You know, they can't hold on to that, right? You know, they go to Nashville. You know, it's a game where they look like they're in it. Last night's game, you know, against a good Florida team, they're playing really well, and then they can't hold on to the lead. It seems like they're a good enough team to play at a certain level right now. And you know, when Paul Maurice stepped away and he said, "There's more there, and they need another voice, and they need somebody else to bring that out." Maybe there's not as much as we think there's there. Maybe it's going to be a scenario where Kevin Cheveldayoff's going to have to look. You know, they've been really patient with their players and their group, and that's admirable. But when you start falling short at critical times of the game, and you have a coach that talks about, I think there's more there. Now you have a new coach, and Dave Lowry is working and trying some different things and some things that are really positive. But now you might have to look at it and go, we may have to change the composition of the team, because you can't keep falling short in tight games against good teams and say, well, I mean, I'm reminded of what Bob Gainey said many years ago. He was coaching the Montreal Canadiens, and they asked him at the end of the season, they said, well, you lost a lot of one-goal games. And he said, people hide behind one-goal games. He said, when you lose by 1 goal, that means you needed 2 to win. And 2 is a lot of goals in this league. I think the Winnipeg Jets are finding themselves in a similar spot. They're good enough to be competitive, but against the good teams, and you know, even they're outside the playoff picture right now. They're not finding a way to get there. So I think Kevin Cheveldayoff has to take a long, hard look at the composition of his team, because Paul Maurice has made a statement. The team is making a statement with the way they're playing. Just good enough to fall short.
I agree with you, and you obviously know Rich Preston well. Learned so much from that man. I love him. Rico, the coolest man in the NHL. And he often said to me, when guys whine about 1-goal games, it means you weren't good enough. And he got mad. But I'm wondering how much is coaching, because I look at this Calgary team here. Pete was in that chair yesterday, and we talked about what the Flames need, You're probably hearing it all over town. And the Flames have been good, I feel, for a long time. They were number 1 in the Western Conference not that long ago. Daryl's made all the difference. Right?
He has.
Yeah.
And, you know, last year at the end of the year, and like any good coach, Perry, you know this, you know, you come in and you're watching, you go, oh, I can make a difference right away. That's a coach's mentality. I can make a difference. Sometimes there's some ingrained habits and some things you have to work through. And I think Daryl was no different. He felt he could but what he was able to do was get a good feel for the players. And the players were able to get a good feel for him. I think Brad Treliving, everybody was clamoring, trade this guy, trade that guy. You know, and I think Brad Treliving, by not making the trades, allowing, and that would come input from Daryl. Daryl would say, hey, I can work with this guy. Here's what we got to do. And, you know, and Daryl's a top-notch coach, and there's no question about it. And I think Paul Maurice is a good coach. And, you know, Dave Lowry, it's his first crack at being a head coach. You know, we'll see. It's not just I'm not going to pinpoint it on coaching, but when Paul Maurice, and these are telling comments, I think there's more there, and I think they need a different voice. So if Paul's looking at it going, maybe there isn't more there. Maybe there isn't. Maybe there's, and that's where I say the focus now, where Kevin has to go and look at it and say, okay, objectively, what are we missing? Objectively, what could we use more of? And these are discussions that are going on daily, you know, and obviously, you know, you got Paul Maurice, who's a longtime NHL coach. You have Dave, who's in his first go. Dave knows the team, and he's trying to do his part. But maybe it's not coaching in Winnipeg. Maybe it is the team composition. And that's not to say it's this player or that player. I think they have a top-notch goaltender. I think they have some good defensemen. I think they have a center ice that's really good with Lowry, Dubois, and Scheifele. But sometimes you got to change the mix and the composition of the team. And, you know, that's where you have to evaluate and examine at this point in time.
I think there's a lot of examining going on in Winnipeg right now. And the fans are writing in saying Connor's giving up 3+ goals every game. They're upset about that. But I tell you, Shocks just came to the edge of his chair because this is a fascinating discussion. We were talking about the Oilers before the game, and your network, TSN, I'm not sure which analyst said it last night on SportsCenter, but they said Dave doesn't need this, and this is the truth. Dave wasn't going to coach, right? His brother Brad said he didn't need to coach again. He's got the money. And then he goes and takes and I'm telling everybody that Tip's not coaching again. He's happy. He's consulting. Then he ends up in Edmonton. And I'm like, Brad, you said he's not going to do this. And he goes, well, there's a special chance to coach Connor. Canadian market, Edmonton, it's special. And with that win last night and then the Flames win Saturday, do you think that the bad times are over and the Oilers are rolling now?
Okay, so I want to go back to one thing that I didn't mention about Winnipeg.
Yeah.
If you look at the goal last night by Sam Bennett, which I think was the winning goal, you talk about coaching and everything, like how they give up the middle of the ice, it's like...
It was very easy, wasn't it?
Well, you can't have that. And Brendan Dillon gets caught outside the circles and right down through the middle. If the Edmonton Oilers want to play games like they did Saturday night against the Flames, they're on a hope and a prayer. Because if Koskinen isn't at a high level that game, they're down 5-0 after the first period. Leon Draisaitl had a great game. The power play played really well. But last night against Vancouver, the Edmonton Oilers played really well.
50 shots.
I mean, they just took it to the Vancouver Canucks. And if Jim Rutherford doesn't know that he's got a major problem on his blue line, he last night was example of it there. So with the Edmonton Oilers, you know, even the goal that Koskinen gave up, I mean, that first goal of the game, I mean, that's an awful goal. But he stops the breakaway. That would have made it 3-0, and then they come right back, and they get Ryan McLeod scores his goal short side on another awful goal, but that gets them back into the game. But what I liked about what the Oilers did Saturday night and what they did to a certain degree Saturday night is they fought. They competed their way back into it wasn't a lack of competing and giving. And last night they did the same thing. It was, you know, coaches. And Perry, you've impressed this upon your post. Stay with it. Stay with it. We're going to get rewarded. Stay with it. The Edmonton Oilers stayed with it last night, and they did get rewarded. I think from a coaching point of view, if you're Dave Tippett, you're going, okay, you know what? And you can't fix all your problems all at once, but you figure out, okay, this is our biggest problem. We need to fix this, or these are our two biggest things that we can fix right now, and get after that. And I think that those two wins, you know, with less focus, with less pressure, with less heat, that helps. If possible, yeah,
right?
It helps.
But it's funny, McDavid scores last night, ends a 6-game drought, and I thought, isn't that interesting? They had a 7-game losing streak before that, how the two were tied together. And I remember Jordan Eberle back in the day was in a drought, and we'll segue this to Junior in a second, but his coach Dale Durkat said, keep doing the same things, keep preparing the same way, and it will turn around. And I wonder if that's what's happening with the Oilers, macro and micro with Connor, that they just went through a slump. And maybe this second half they won't go through again what they've been through here the last month. What do you think? Are they good enough?
Yeah, they're good enough to be in the playoffs. I don't think there's any question about it, because you have two of the best players on the planet. The other thing that happens with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and the great players is that they're so good, they're so competitive, they care so much, that when things aren't going well, they also try to do more. They don't try to do less. It's not like Connor McDavid's trying to do less or Leon's trying to do less. They want to do more. And so what you have to understand that. And sometimes what you got to do is just have them dial back a little bit. Less is more. Don't try to push it, because the more you push, then they get frustrated, and then, you know, the other team, the rest of the players on the team are struggling a little bit. You know, you almost got to remind them, like, hey, what you're doing is really good. Keep doing that. You know, I recall Mike Modano telling me this story, and it was 1998. We had traded for Brian Skrudland and Mike Keane, and we were playing San Jose. We'd lost Joe Nieuwendyk the first game of the playoffs with a season-ending knee injury, and we're playing San Jose, and they're a good team, and they're hard, and they're competitive. And it was the middle. I think it was Game 4, and Mike was on the bench. It's a tie game. Mike Modano, and he says, I'm feeling antsy. I'm feeling like, you know, I got to do more. He said, Mike Keane just reached over and put his hand on my arm. He said, Mike, keep doing what you're doing. You don't have to do more. You don't have to do less. He goes, we're doing the right things. We're going to find a way just to stay with it. We have enough here to get the win. And you know what? I know you want to do more and you want to get something next shift. If it's there, take it. If it's not, just relax. Mike just said he felt this sense of calm just come over his whole body. And I think that's another big part with your star players when they're struggling. The Leon Draisaitl, exchange with Jim Matheson last week, that was just emotions boiling over, right, by both parties, right? And
still ugly, though.
It's ugly, but hey, listen, I mean, I'm sure you've had arguments with people you love and everything you like, right? You just put it behind you and move over. It's ugly, and you pass on. But I think it's also that I want to do more. I want to make a difference. And as a coach, you got to just kind of, and other players can, it's hard for somebody. That's where Duncan Keith might come in. Hey, Connor, I played with Taze. You're like Taze. Yeah. Just calm down here. You're okay. But those voices become really instrumental. And as a coach, you got to keep your finger on that pulse.
We have mentioned a couple times the junior thing. How much you enjoying that? I tuned in the game Friday night from Guelph, and I'm like, I know this voice. And I've met you're all over the place, and you wouldn't be if you didn't love it. Isn't it great?
It is great. I mean, you go in. I was in Vancouver the week before, and I'm talking to Mark Lamb and Mike Dick, people I've known for a long time. I didn't get a chance because of weather related. I didn't get a chance to talk to George Burnett, who I've known since I was 20 years old. Right? I'm going in on Friday into Regina. John Paddock with the Pats and Mark Habscheid with the Prince Albert Raiders. You're rekindling these relationships and. Not rekindling. You, in the last 2 years, we haven't had a chance to go into the rinks. We haven't had a chance to go and visit with people. And one of the beautiful things about being in the rinks is visiting with people, the other scouts, the coaches, and everybody involved with junior hockey. So you're right. I do love it. And it's great to see the people.
It's funny at the last two Flames games, they had the Blues here, and last week I don't remember last week, but
Florida.
Right. What am I saying? 5-1 Flames. Yeah. And I thought I go to the rink for three reasons: to see the guys in the media room, eat, and then the game. Not necessarily in that order. I'm like, two of the three I can't do. Yeah. So I hope it's changing. It's weird in these Alberta games, hey? Quiet and the concessions are closed.
But it's 50. I mean, and they have 50% capacity. Last night in Winnipeg, they had 250 people. I was there Sunday afternoon, and the Manitoba Moose started a game at 2, and 250 people are in the building. It's nice for 200, but it's not the same. Last year was very different, and we saw the full buildings this year, and we've had to take a step back, and understandably so with the pandemic. But it's not the same.
No,
it's just not the same. And
well, speaking of empty rink in Ottawa last night, highlights looked weird, especially compared to what we're seeing in the States. But Aaron Dell, can I ask you about the hot topic of Aaron Dell today, the goalie for the Sabres that put out Drake Batherson, the All-Star?
Well, here's what I would say. Okay, so Aaron Dell does his act, right? What has happened? Why did somebody on Ottawa not just go run him? And not just run him once, run him twice. I'll tell you what, when it was 4-0, every shot would have been right under his chin. Every single shot would have been right under his chin. He would not have gotten out of that game, without some damage. Simple as that. Because what he did was garbage. Here's Drake Batherson, unsuspecting. You have no chance to defend yourself. It's garbage. That, to me, is the type of play that has to be dealt with severely. And Aaron Dell to pull that, honestly, he would not have got out of Ottawa without some damage.
A pound of flesh.
Oh, yeah. No, make no mistake about it. I was shocked. Honestly, it's just hey, listen, I'm going to get suspended for 4 games because I'm running that bugger, and he's not going to get up.
As I said earlier, I didn't mind him coming out of the net and throwing a body check against Boston the other night. I thought that was cool. That was like an NLL play. This was dumb. This was dirty. This was unnecessary, and doesn't give goalies a good name, right? Even goalies are criticizing him for this.
Well, that's it, right? But here's what I would say. Even the one, you can't come out and hit somebody. The game is such that the goalie cannot be run. That's the way it is. It cannot be hit. And we all accept that. So now he's going to switch it around and think that, it's okay. No,
it's not right.
No.
Craig, thanks so much. I appreciate the time. Always fun seeing you.
Great to see you too.
Enjoy my hometown Friday night.
I am going to love it. I mean, we got Connor Bedard, and I want to tell everybody there we're gonna do something on Clark Gillies.
Good.
And we got Dale Durkach in the booth.
The Rat.
One of the best players that's ever played junior hockey in Canada.
491 points.
One of the best ever in the CHL.
And maybe a finer human being.
Yeah, love Dale.
For sure. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see,
hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.